Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So before we get into today's video, I just want to take a moment to thank the 410 people who took the time to hit that subscribe button. Makes a huge difference for the channel. Thank you so much. If you're new to the channel, please consider hitting that subscribe button, giving me a like. I'm not going to extort you to try to hit the bell or the notification icon. That's up to you. In today's video, folks, we're going to take a look at a cheap and easy way to be able to dethatch your lawn. So let's get into it. Okay, so when it comes to being able to dethatch your lawn, you've got a couple different options out there. First option is going to be this fella right here, a good old-fashioned dethatch rake, okay? The pros to this is it is cheap. It is cheap and it is fantastic exercise. The cons, it is you being the muscle power behind this thing to actually make it work. If you've ever had to do a dethatch job with one of these, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about because you're trying to pull all of that dead grass out of the ground, okay? So again, pros and cons to both. The next option that you could always consider is taking a look at an actual dethatcher. You can get these electric ones from Lowe's, Home Depot, Ace, Rona, Canadian Tire, a lot of different places you can pick these up from. They're quite good for what they are. Some of the pros is it's a dedicated machine, okay? It's designed specifically to be able to dethatch the lawn. They usually have an engagement switch on the handle. They're either battery powered or electrically powered, so that's nice. You don't have to worry about, maintaining another gasoline motor. There are also gasoline variants you can get as well. Some of the downsides to those are if you don't have a lot of room, it's another piece of equipment that's going to be taking up space. Okay, here I don't have a garage, I only have an 8x8 shed, so that's my big challenge here. And then the last option we're going to take a look at kind of bridges the gap between the two. We're going to be using this guy right here, and this is a specific dethatching blade that I got from my mower. Some of the advantages are, number one, it is cheap, okay? It's not quite rake cheap, but it's pretty close, okay? So, the nice thing about that is I already have the mower, it's existing, so that makes it super easy to use, okay? If I'm looking at disadvantages though, with a power dethatcher, something that's purpose-built, as soon as I let go of that engagement handle, those tines stop spinning and the machine comes to a halt. With my mower, if I stop moving with it, that rake attachment, it is still spinning and it could really chew up the ground depending on how you have your depth set. So as long as you're able to maintain a steady, consistent pace with it, you really shouldn't have too many problems here, okay? So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and I'll show you guys how we're gonna go about installing this guy on the mower. All right, so I'm going to be installing this dethatch blade onto this Honda mower here, okay? This mower has been awesome. I've had it for a few years already, and I think it's going to have plenty of power to be able to turn one of these. Now, something to keep in mind, if you have a really low horsepower motor on your lawnmower, you may have some challenges. So really, just to give you guys a bit of a close-up look here, really, this is what that blade looks like. Okay, so you can see there's a lot of different styles of these that you can get. Some of them are going to have metal clips or metal springs instead of these kind of user replaceable ones. This is kind of the same kind of material that you'd see on a weed whacker essentially. So just something to keep in mind, okay? This blade cost me about 35 bucks. So again, prices can vary on these a little bit depending where you're at, all right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my mower, okay, and I'm actually going to go ahead and tip the mower just on its side with the air cleaner facing up, okay? That's gonna give me access to be able to get to the underside, and that way I hopefully won't flood anything or have a ton of oil or stuff like that everywhere, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna just flip this guy around, kind of like this, so you guys can see what we're talking about here. Okay. So when I flip them over here, hopefully you guys can now see exactly what I'm talking about. So here's the blade, okay? And here's the spots where it's mounted. Now, there's a few different ways that you can go about doing this, okay? Normally when you have a setup like this, what you might have to do is if you're using a socket or a ratchet or even just a box wrench, sometimes you gotta block a piece of wood in here to be able to take those bolts off. With my particular setup here, I can actually just remove these two center blades, or rather those two center bolts, and then this blade is going to fit right there. I don't have to remove the center bolt off the crankshaft here, okay? Now again, like I was saying, a few different ways you can do that. I personally prefer the Ugga Duggas. So I'm gonna go ahead and just get this guy set up here so y'all can see this. Okay. All right. Okay, let's see here. I haven't had this blade off yet, so let's see what we're in for. Oh, that was easy. Okay, there's one, and there's two. Okay, now, I don't know if you guys can tell or not, but these blades aren't exactly in the best of shape. These are still original from when I got the mower. Definitely could use a sharpening, or you know what, maybe even just a new replacement set here. All right, so now that I've got those blades off, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna mount the replacement section here. So again, this literally is gonna fit right in here like that, and then my other bolts are gonna go right on top of them there. Okay, so again, let's show you guys here what that's gonna look like. Okay, now before I use the impact, I always wanna get these in here and I wanna get them finger tight first. Okay, I guess that one pinned in place. Now I'm gonna grab the second one here. Same thing, we're gonna get him lined up. Oh, how embarrassing. That sounds when my compressor runs out of air. So give me a second, we'll go charge them up. And you know, when in doubt, you can always just use the good old-fashioned ratchet here. That works good too. Now, when it comes to tightening these bolts down, ideally you want to have these somewhere between 35 and 90 foot-pounds. Now I realize that's a pretty big spread, all things considered, okay? But again, you're gonna want to go by whatever the manufacturer originally stated for your particular mower here. For me, I kind of have a pretty good feel for exactly where I want to have them, so that's exactly how much I'm gonna tighten them here. So we're gonna call, let's see, yeah, that's about good on that one. Yeah, and I'm gonna call that one about good there, okay? So again, you can look at the torque specs, get your torque wrench out, or just give them a good reef down and I think you're gonna be okay, all right? So at this point now, we're ready to start dethatching the lawn. So a few things that we wanna keep in mind before we go ahead and start dethatching here. I normally cut my grass this way. When you dethatch, you're gonna wanna go in an opposite pattern, okay? Just helps to break everything up. There's gonna be a few spots where I'm not gonna be able to avoid that. So again, you know, it'll be better than nothing and it's gonna be easier than the rake ultimately at the end of the day. Another thing to keep in mind too is with this particular blade, if I want to try to dethatch, they recommend that I have that blade a 1/4 inch, or rather I have the little tines about a 1/4 inch off the top of the grass, okay? If I go lower than that, that's a scalp setting. If my plan was just to reseed the whole lawn, I'd probably want to go down to that particular setting, but that's going to remove a lot of material, okay? So let's go ahead, flip the mower over, and let's get started. Okay, so hopefully now you guys can actually get a look at those tines. Now, when I put my finger under there, I'm pretty much about a 1/4 inch off the ground, and that's kind of right where you want to be, okay? I've got my mower set to the lowest setting here. So again, hopefully I've got this thing dialed in pretty much right where I want it. So we'll go ahead, we'll do some passes. We may have to stop and readjust, but we'll see what kind of a job it does. Well, there you have it, folks. That Dethatch blade did a great job. And again, for the cost, I think it was around 35 bucks. I'm super happy with the job that it did. We have some rain coming up in the forecast here for the next couple of days. So the plan now is I'm gonna throw down my seed, I'm gonna fertilize, I might do a little bit of top coating in a few areas. You may be wondering what the big black spot was in the middle of the yard. We recently had fiber optic lines ran in our area here, so that's what that's all about. But again, folks, if you like the video, please consider giving me a subscribe, giving me the thumbs up. It goes a big way to helping the channel. Again, thank you so much, and we'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now.